Recently, and that means like within the last 3 months, I started running. My goal was to be able to finish in the top 5 in a 5K that some alumni from my fraternity and some of the guys in the fraternity ourselves put on every year, and we do this to raise money for a local children's hospital. Now, a lot of my brothers and friends do it, and those who don't, they'll usually volunteer for it. You know, they help organize it, hand out numbers, etc. It's pretty popular as a 5K for what it is. We don't have very many races in our city, so this one, it draws quite the crowd. Anyways, that stuff, it really doesn't matter. What matters is that during my training, I have found myself running around parts of the city that I don't usually see, and I'm noticing things that I never had the time to notice before. For instance, there's murals I've never seen on buildings I never knew existed, modern art installments hidden on tucked away trails, and most importantly, a plethora of human-sized metallic statues that I am convinced are moving on their own. Now, when I use the word plethora, I don't mean it as if there's a ton of them everywhere you go. No. But there is an excessive amount of them. If it was just one installment in a random spot, it wouldn't be so creepy. But there's at least 7 to 9 installments of them that I know of, and each one has 3 to 4 of those creepy bastards on average. I don't think I'm going insane. I mean, it has been a while since I've seen a doctor, but I've never had any of those issues before. Though now that I think of it, I did have that autoimmune attack in the 8th grade. To be honest with you, reader, I think the reason why I really want to share this is because I don't think my friends and family will believe me. Not at all. And if I'm going to tell this story, I want people to believe it, you know, not think it's some low-level prank or campfire tale. So with all of this said so far, I'm just going to jump right into it. If you guys have any ideas or thoughts or warnings, please let me know. Looking back, you know, I think I can pinpoint the exact time I started to notice something weird was going on. It was definitely closer to the start of my running career, so maybe 2 weeks in? Or 3? Yeah, let's just say 3. Anyways, at the time, I really didn't know as much as I do now, and in particular, I had no clue how much of a difference an actual pair of running shoes would make. They are worlds apart from the normal, everyday sneakers we wear when it comes to supporting your feet and not having your shoes become untied during a run. You know, during my early days, I would have to stop and retie my shoes constantly because they became untied or the laces got a little loose, or because I just wanted a break and needed an excuse to take one. All right? But in any situation, I would have to stop, drop down to tie my shoe, and then get up and start running again. One of these times I took to tie my shoe, I found myself on a short, sneaky trail behind a few city buildings, the path being semi-adjacent to this old railroad track. On this little stretch where a handful of those art installments I was telling you about earlier, they call home. There's this huge queen chess piece that is a checkered pattern. Another one is this weird glass windmill-looking thing of sorts that you can make spin, and a few other little things that I really don't even have the vocabulary to attempt to describe. Modern art, it can just be so weird sometimes. But with all of these messes of bent metal and metaphor, there was also one singular silver statue in the shape and size of a human. It wasn't the first time I'd seen one of these. To be honest, the statues have been in our city for quite a long time. A few years probably. I just never really noticed them in detail until I moved towards the downtown area for college. but this was the first time I had seen one outside of the square where they were originally installed, cemented, and bolted into concrete. It wasn't throwing me off or anything as I came in closer to the statue, but it didn't feel quite right seeing one on this specific trail. So I had spent some time running this previously, and I had never seen this statue before. So I figured they must have started moving the statues around to make room for something else in the square. But if they were moving around art pieces, why didn't they change any of the other ones on this trail? They obviously had been here for a pretty long time, as the weather wearing on them was like a rock being eroded in water. As I was thinking this, I felt this light tapping on the top of my foot, and I looked down to see the laces of my right shoe were almost completely undone. Since I was in the shade and the wind, it was blowing just right, I figured this would be an absolutely perfect spot to slowly retie my shoes and catch my breath, aka be lazy and take a break. So I was a few feet away from the statue, 6 feet at most when I stopped. It was directly to my right, a full 90 degrees from where I was facing. I was close, okay, but I was not arm's length. I swear I was not within arm's length of that statue. My inner voice told me to tuck my laces into my socks and get further on down the trail before I stopped to try tying them. When I think about it now, it wasn't the trail that my subconsciousness was trying to get me away from. It was that statue. It tried to warn me, but you know what? I disobeyed it. I disobeyed it as if I was an Israelite at the foot of Mount Sinai and Moses himself was moseying on down. And I felt my heart skip just a second as I looked down to my laces. The brim of my hat was obscuring the view of everything in front of me. It was like it missed a beat, like it stopped just a second, like it pushed blood twice without pulling. My heart felt like it caved in on itself and reopened like nothing ever happened. I didn't feel good after this, and I don't mean I felt sick. I felt uneasy, almost nervous all of a sudden. I decided I didn't need that break. I just needed to finish this mile and then I could rest. I tied up my laces much faster than I originally wanted to and started to bring my head up, and I froze. From my peripherals, I could see, standing next to me, within 2 feet at the very least, was a pair of shiny, silver smooth feet. Maybe the statue was closer to the trail than I initially thought. Maybe my eyes had played a trick on me. You know how when you drive for long enough that when you eventually come to a stop, your eyes make it seem like things are coming towards you? It's like an illusion or something. Maybe that could have happened, right? Right? I was still on my knee as I was trying to rationalize my proximity to this unassuming metal idol. And as I looked up into its eyeless sockets, I felt as if I were before a sinfully made golden calf and not whatever this thing was supposed to be. I wanted to reach out and I wanted to touch it. I wanted to feel how real it was. The coldness of its silver-colored skin, the hardness that it carries. I wanted to feel its weight in my fingertips and then in my palms, then my arms, and then on and on and on, and my arm crept slowly to it like a blind beggar to Jesus. And right before I could touch it, I heard, "On your left!" Another runner passed by, and it snapped me out of whatever trance I was in. I brought my arm quickly back to my side and got up, taking one last look at the statue. I only had one thought as I finalized my rationalizing and swept the whole experience under the dusty, cheap rugs in my mind. I'm just dehydrated, I thought, but I didn't believe it. Not even for a second. Well, I'm still running. Still training for the 5K that's coming up. And honestly, more races in the future, I hope. I've found I really like running a lot, and I don't want to stop. You know, I can't stop. I have more stories that are bouncing around in my head, and I've finally been able to get them straight. And I can share all of them with you. If you want, that is. I can post them. Lastly, thanks to you, reader, for caring about me enough to read all of this. It means more than I can say. Yours truly, O.M. Oh-DoubleU, for someone who claims to have never really ever posted on Reddit before, and this is the first time they've ever shared their writing with any audience whatsoever, you have some serious skills, all right? I came across this story at a time when I wasn't really expecting to try to fit another one in, but as soon as I read it, I knew I needed to do it, and I found a way to fit it into my schedule, and I'm really happy I was able to. I just really love the idea of this frat bro who has no skill in running or experience whatsoever, just bumbling his way into a moving statue scenario. And this really just screams Weeping Angels from Doctor Who. And I just love the fact that these things are skulking around these old running paths in this city. You know, I also really loved that one of them managed to glamour the protagonist, OM, and the guy only survived because another runner just happened to be passing by. And as an avid runner and fraternity man myself, the Delta Tau Delta Upsilon chapter, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. This just tickled me in all of the right spots. So, OW, please keep it up. I want to see more of your writing. And the way the story ended, it sounds like we might actually get a sequel, and we'll get to see more of the protagonist OM's misadventures as he's training for this Fraternity 5K. Guys, please check out the original work in the show notes below and give this author some much needed love. Now, I'm going to get back to work. Mother Horse Eyes episode 3 is not going to record itself. And if you haven't had a chance yet to see the 2 previous episodes, I have the playlist linked at the end of this video. All right, guys. Bye-bye.
Uncle Magnetti, I want to be you. Uncle Magnetti, I'm watching you. Inside your mind, I twist and turn. Feed on your fear, watch it burn.